So I'm Andrew from the ETU Electrical Trades Union. If you had a message for workers who are considering working in uranium mines in Australia, what would it be given your experience with Fukushima and also the nuclear industry in Japan?
First of all, I'd like to tell not just particularly the workers in mining industry, but also all the workers in Australia and the people. There's a misconception that the uranium mining contributes to job creation, which is a myth. It doesn't create as many jobs as compared with other mineral resource mining or other industries. There's the figure that the whole Australian uranium mining industry, uranium mining proper employs only like 500-600, or including some related industry, just over 1,000. So the effect on employment is very small. And on top of that, the mining company says that because it's small dosage, it's okay. But however, Australian government, it's only recent established that the monitoring national tracking record system. Before it was all up to the mining company. Finally, Australian government created the system to record as a government to record the radiation level of all the workers at the uranium mine. But it was until recently not properly managed. There's a loophole in Northern Territory. Workers in Northern Territory, data was not recorded and reported to the government. And also another thing is that there's a medical evidence that there is no safe level. There's a correlation with the radiation level and the health risk. There's no risk only if there's no radiation exposure. Even tiny, there's a risk. But this radioactive risk hits only statistically. You may feel you are okay, but if you look at the 1,000 workers, 2,000 workers, there will be someone who will be affected even at the low level of dosage. That's what's happening in Fukushima. The government says it's okay, it's acceptable level, but still statistically, even at the low level, low dosage level, people will be affected.
Okay, now the other question I think needs to be posed is uranium mining. Once uranium mining in Queensland is opened up, and that's what the government are talking about doing, is it a natural step then to be a nuclear power community?
That's also that I'm actually very concerned. I understand that Australia had a plan to create a nuclear power plant around 1970, but at that time, because of the strong opposition of the public and also the cost issue, they abandoned the plan. However, right now, like Resource Minister Martin Ferguson is promoting and saying that, well, at least let's consider as an option as a nuclear. And unfortunately, many people started talking, as a solution to climate change, let's think about the nuclear power. However, it's not the solution because nuclear power, as we know, even at the mining stage, creates a huge problem. If you look at the Ranger mine, the problem is tailing, constantly leaking, almost overflowing every rainy season. So, in fact, the nuclear power plant seems like a carbon-free, no carbon dioxide emission, but if you only look at the tiny aspect of just a power generation stage, but the reality is, at the mining stage, it has a huge environmental footprint. And also, if you look at the people who are promoting nuclear power in Australia, it's a mining company, like a Rio Tinto executive. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy because they are selling uranium. That's why they want to have a nuclear power.
If you had a message for Australians today, as we reflect on 2 years since the disaster that was both natural and man-made, what would it be to the communities and to the workers of Queensland who are now facing the prospect of going down a uranium and a nuclear future?
Okay, so just 2 years ago, March 11th, the disaster happened, and that brought us a really big change. Before, we believed nuclear power is safe, and it's controllable, and it's necessary, and that was very mainstream idea, even among public and workers. But because of this disaster, we learned that was a total misunderstanding, a myth that was created by the government and corporations. So it was a very painful learning process. And still, the disaster is ongoing, and hundreds of thousands of people are suffering from it. And almost all Japanese people are worried about food security and any impact from the radiation. So I think Australia and Japan, both citizens can work together, and this is a very important message to Australians as well. I think here in Australia, the plan for mining and selling uranium is going underway, and it is on the assumption that it is just a matter of business for the national economy and so on and so forth, and it's no problem. I think that should be the mainstream idea in this country. However, please look at this terrible reality about what this material can bring about to the people, for example, to the farmers of Fukushima. So we should realize the danger of this material. And as Japan is doing some reconsideration, reassessment of nuclear power policy, people of Australia can do the same thing regarding uranium policy. And I think it is really encouraging that ETU, among other groups or unions, are taking very important leadership role to stop uranium mining project. And it has a very important impact on global scale on this global problem of nuclear industry.
ミスター長谷川健一、飯舘村前田地区区長と福島県酪農業協同組合幹事。
I'm from Maeda ward of Itate village, and I'm head of the Maeda ward of Itate village, and I'm also executive member of Dairy Farmers Association of Fukushima Prefecture.
We heard some harrowing stories today of your experience of the man-made and natural tragedy that occurred 2 years ago. If you had a message for the Australian people who are, because of our government's backflip, facing a nuclear future, what would it be, and what would you say to them?
今日その大変な経験をされたお話を聞きましたけれども、長谷川さんのオーストラリアの皆さんへのメッセージ、特にオーストラリア政府がウラン採掘とかいう原子力問題に関しては後ろ向きになっている状況で、オーストラリアに来てどういう考えメッセージがありますか？
これオーストラリアだけじゃなくて全世界だと思うんだけども、
This is a message to the world, not just Australia.
まず一つはやっぱり今福島の今回の原発の事故についてきちっとした正確な情報を得ること、本当にこういうことが起きたんだということを正確に知ってほしい。
First of all, I want people around the world, not just Australia, to know that what exactly happened in Australia. I want people to know the correct information of what happened in Fukushima.
そして我々は今自分のふるさとを追い出されているわけだけども、その後でその後でに除染されて本当にふるさとに戻れるのか戻れないのか全く前が見えない状況で今村人は苦しんでいます。
So now I'm away. I was forced off from my hometown, and the decontamination work going on. But still, we don't know whether we can go back or we cannot go back. So we're hung in the middle in a situation where we don't know our future.
そして今オーストラリアでは ウラン砂の鉱山というパンドラの箱を開けてしまったわけ。それによってこれからどのような健康被害、そういうもの、原発事故も含めた、あとはプルトニウム爆弾、原子爆弾も作られるようになってしまった。それではやっぱりダメだ、みんなで考えを直してそのパンドラの箱の蓋を閉めなければならないと。
Australia has opened Pandora's box called the uranium mine, and this uranium has been used not just for nuclear power, but for example, for the nuclear bomb, like not only uranium, but making plutonium. And then now we have to collectively work together to close this Pandora's box.